Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. So today we will be discussing the political development of Bengal under the British rule. So here we will be mentioning about the political dynamics of the British period, how the political dynamics worked back then, how the Bengal gradually developed, and today we obtained our gradual Bangladesh. So let's get started. British ruled the Bengal for a span of around 200 years, so we will be reflecting the core problems and the core political activities that took place from the year 1757 to the year 1947, and will highlight the important events that were take place during this time span. So first, we will try to clear out what is actually mean by political development. Then we will move on to the Battle of Polashi. Third, we will be discussing about the British colonial rule, their activities, the events that took place during this period. We will be mentioning about the revolt that took place against the British rule. We will be talking about the reformation movements that took place during the British rule and about the partition of Bengal when the British ruled during the period. And last but not the least, we will try to mention the final movements that took place against the British rule and which eventually ended up the Bengal, Bangladesh, and the Indian subcontinent nations. So let's get started. So what is meant by political development? Political development refers to the processes, changes, and transformations in a society's political system and institutions. Political development is a complex and ongoing process influenced by historical, cultural, economic, and social factors. That is, the development that transforms the society's political system and institutions. That is what actually mean by political development. The Battle of Palashi, through which the British started their reign in the Bengal. The Battle of Palashi was a decisive victory of the British East India Company under the leadership of Robert Clive over the Nawab of Bengal, that is Nawab Sirajuddaulah, and his French allies on 23rd June 1757. From then on, the British, with the help of the Mir Jafar and other persons, controlled the Bengal, and their reign started from then on. The battle helped the British East India Company take control of Bengal in 1772. Over the next 100 years, they continued to expand their control over vast territories in the rest of the Indian subcontinent, and from then on, the British have their influence in the Bengal and they developed their colonies throughout the Bengal from then on. So, how was the rule during the British period? In the British colonial rule, Robert Clive became the first Governor General of Bengal. The East India Company was given the authority to collect taxes and raise an army in Bengal, which it used to expand its territories further. The property rights were granted to the local jamindars, landlords. That is, the local jamindars in that place used to have vast amount of lands which were controlled by them, and the Bengals used this land from them. The muslin industry virtually disappeared as a result of the British rule. The muslin was the pride of Bengal because the cloth is so thin that it could be fixed within a matchbox. And this muslin industry disappeared during the British rule, which was a very poor scenario for the Bengalis. The introduction of the British law, a modern bureaucracy, new models of communication, the English language developed, a modern education system, and the opening of local markets to the international trade created new horizons for development in various spheres of life. And their rule developed various communication sectors like railways, bridges, and so on and so forth. The British stoked rivalries between Hindus and Muslims, which had lain dormant during the previous 500 years of Muslim rule, which we can see the dividation of East Pakistan and West Pakistan, and middle of them India. During the colonial period, communication sectors were improved tremendously, which is true till today. We have the symbols of the British development till 2023, and we can see Hardinge Bridge and so on and so forth, and the British really contributed on the communication sectors of Bengal. During the British tenure, they faced a series of revolts against their time, and let us mention the notable revolt that was taken during the against the British rule in their tenure. Fakir Sannasi movement from the year 1760 to 1800, which was led by Fakir Mojnu Shah, Bhavani Pathak, and Paragal Shah. So it was basically the mark of beginning of the anti-British uprising in India, And for British East India Company, it was blamed for beginning of the Bengal famine. It was intolerable oppression that was undertaken to the Bengalis, which eventually led to the Fukenshannashi. The intolerable oppressors of their time exploited the Bengal peasantries with high taxes, which eventually resulted the Bengal famine. Thus, the peasants took arms, and in their so why it is called the Fukenshannashi movement? The British government banned the pilgrims to visiting the sacred sites, which was the direct cause of these upsurge, and the Sannyasis were denied to enter the holy places as British thought they were the looters, which eventually led the Bengali people get into this uprising, and it ended up to the Fakir Sannyasi movement from the year 1760 to 1800, which continued for almost 40 years. Another revolt was the Rangpur farmers movement, which we talked earlier, and it was from the year 1783, which was led by Nuruddin. Farazi movement. It was held from the year 1820 to 1862. It was led by Haji Shariatullah and Dudu Mian. It was widely received in the districts of Dhaka, Faridpur, Borishal, Mymensingh, and Kumilla. The main purpose of this Farazi movement was aimed to purify Islam by eradicating all non-Islamic customs and beliefs and designating the Quran as their only source of spiritual guidance. Titumir's rebellion in the West Bengal was one of the notable incidents and the revolt that took against the British rule in the year 1831. It was led by Syed Mir Nisar Ali, who was commonly known as Titumir. Titumir inspired Muslim peasants of Bengal to rise against the Jamindars, mainly Hindus and British indigo planters. Titumir was the disciple of Syed Ahmed Barelvi of the Wahhabi movement, which motivated him to do this movement. It was an armed peasant uprising. Titumir formed Mujahid army and trained them with lathi, that we call bamboo stick. He built a large bamboo fort which was known as Bashir Kella Daden back in his period, and he was responsible for the Narkelbari uprising. The rebellion of 1857, or more commonly known the Sepoy Mutiny of 1857, was led by Bahadur Shah Zafar, Mongol Pandey, and so on. It was mainly caused by due to the poor terms of services and pensions, bad pay scales, lack of promotions in the army, cultural and racial discrimination by the British. The Sepoy Mutiny of 1857 was the first war of independence against the British rule. During the British tenure, the Bengal go under a series of reformation movements under the Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Nawab Abdul Latif, Syed Amir Ali, and Syed Ahmed Khan. Raja Ram Mohan Rai was the initiator of Indian Renaissance religious reformations, and Nawab Abdul Latif emphasized education and established the Mohammedan Literary Society of Kolkata. Syed Amir Ali, Muslim Renaissance, Syed Ahmed Khan, literary movement at the Aligarh Muslim University. The British initiated the partition of Bengal, and it was initiated by Lord Curzon. He planned to split Odisha and Bihar and join 15 eastern districts of Bengal with Assam. People were shocked at the British disregard for public opinion and what they perceived as a divide and rule policy. It separated the largely Muslim eastern areas from the largely Hindu western areas. Due to political protests, the two parts of Bengal were reunited in the year 1911. Finally, the final movements against the British rule. Swadeshi movement of 1905 to 1917. It was the movement to boycott the British products or foreign goods and use the local products. Use of products and services of one's own country was encouraged by the individuals of the country, like using khadi and other clothes. The Khilafat movement of 1919 to 1924. It was led by Maulana Abul Kalam Azad and Maulana Muhammad Ali. The Khilafat movement was aimed to build political unity amongst Muslims and use their influence to protect the Khilafat. It was a political campaign launched by Indian Muslims in British East India over British policy against Turkey and the planned dismemberment of the Ottoman Empire after World War I by the Allied forces. The non-cooperation movement of 1920. So what was the purpose of this movement? It was a non-violent protest against the British. The people were asked to resign from their British jobs. People were asked to boycott foreign goods and only use Indian products. In the non-cooperation movement, the people were asked not to serve the British Army, to boycott elections and legislative councils, to refuse the taxes. Due to the non-cooperation movement, the Indian merchants and the mill owners enjoyed a good amount of profit. The import of sugar from British reduced, and the Gandhi became the leader of the masses. And it was the time when the Gandhi started the Quit India movement from 1942. It was basically the civil disobedience by the people of the India, which was led by Mahatma Gandhi. Due to this movement, public moral and anti-British sentiment were enhanced. Indian bureaucracy did not support the Quit India movement, and whether or not the Indian movement came to be a successful one, and the British finally were forced to quit the India, and from 1947 the new India, Bangladesh, East Pakistan were emerged. Thanks for watching. I hope you have understood the political development of Bengal under the British period. I wish you all the best for the upcoming days. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.